Ty D. Butler is where you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram. And one of the things that I really appreciate most about having this show and being given this platform isn't just our ability to come down after Mets and Yankees play the night before and break down the game, right? Like, we can do that. The Knicks, in this pursuit of winning a championship, they'll have their playoff run. So we'll have a bunch of sports stories that are exciting, that are captivating, that bring in the audience, and they get a chance to vocalize how they feel about, whatever it is that we're talking about. But the other thing that, and this might bring me the most, I guess, fulfillment, is the fact that we can talk about on this show, as you guys know what I'm about, some real issues, some things that take place that spark legitimate conversations that go beyond the realms of just, hey, how about that home run last night? Which brings us to what happened on Friday night during the UConn South Carolina game. You won't find anything less inspiring than Geno Auriemma's half-ass apology he issued after what we saw him do on Friday night. And this is how you know I'm not doing this for clicks, or I'm not faking outrage. I was on the radio Friday night doing this show, and I wasn't watching the game because I had Knicks Bulls on, but I saw South Carolina had upset UConn to advance to the national championship game. And as I'm scrolling through my timeline, this interaction between Geno and Dawn Staley popped up. And immediately when I saw it, as I'm on the radio, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. What's going on here? Like, what's the beef? Like, what's this about? And then you learn everything that went into it. So let's start with this apology Geno Auriemma gave. There's no excuse for how I handled the end of the game versus South Carolina. It's unlike what I do and what our standard is here at Connecticut. I want to apologize to the staff and the team at South Carolina. It was uncalled for in how I reacted. The story should be how well South Carolina played, and I don't want my actions to detract from that. I've had a great relationship with their staff, and I sincerely want to apologize to them. That's signed by Geno Auriemma. Here's how the apology should have gone. Mention her name. Say you called her that morning and spoke to her and personally apologized. This garbage that we saw in this statement that clearly omitted Dawn's name out of disrespect, to me, was even worse than not apologizing, because it tells me you still don't give a damn. It tells me you don't believe anything that was put in this statement courtesy of ChatGPT. My question for Geno would be, what were you looking to accomplish as you charged at Dawn Staley after the game? Because what you appear to be, to me, was a bitter, weak man who in his 70s was dealing with issues of being a sore loser, with no discipline, no self-awareness, and little to no care about the repercussions or any public shame. That's how you looked, like an absolute buffoon who, because I guess you're now realizing the gap between you as the best coach in college basketball and whoever is second used to be quite large. And now it's being shortened. And Dawn Staley, for the 6th time in the last 8 matchups, packed you up and sent you home. And now she's got a chance to win her 4th national championship in 9 years. And for you, there are about to be some uncomfortable conversations about, wait, who's the best college basketball coach in the women's game? And it might still be you. I'm not saying she's taking that from you. But boy, has that conversation gotten a lot more interesting than it was a half decade ago. And maybe that's what makes you feel uncomfortable. And you can't deal with that. Because what you said, it was about she didn't shake your hand before the game, which we saw was untrue. You also mentioned one of the players on your team had her jersey ripped by South Carolina, which we then learned, no, she accidentally ripped her own jersey. And then you talked about the poor officiating and how there was a double standard, which is so interesting for you to say. There was a double standard. She was getting away with things that your team wasn't able to get away with. Well, if you got a problem with officiating, sounds like you should take that up with the refs. The fact that you want to go at her after the game made you look like a sucker, bro. Like you went out bad. That was terrible. Because the perfect part about this is we saw you rounding your arms doing those circle warm-up workouts just a year ago when you beat her in the national championship game. It was all ha-has. It was funny. It was all cute, right? It was all good just a year ago. Yeah, I beat you, come hug me. You had a smile on your face. It was all sweet. Looked like it was a little bit of taunting, but it was cool because you won. But now, when you lose, when you get packed up, when you get sent home, you all mad and agitated, and you didn't shake my hand. Man, the hell with that. Take that loss gracefully. Because you are supposed to be the face of this program. You are supposed to compose yourself as a professional in winning and in losing because you are sending a message to these young women on how to act gracefully in wins, gracefully in losses. But you did not do that. You got in your feelings. And it made you look soft. It made you look weak. And so we're not overblowing this thing. Because, I mean, here's the reality if we really want to keep it a buck. We in society just haven't figured out a way to properly treat women in general. We've always struggled with that. It's the male dominance factor. Then throw in the culture of college athletics and how some of these guys just feel like they're Teflon. And so there's that in the backdrop. There's that undertone to this whole thing. And so all of us watching that felt uncomfortable. You needed your assistant coaches to get in the way to break this thing up? Like, that's just embarrassing, bro. Like, that's pathetic. And again, we're all still trying to figure out what exactly you were mad at. That energy was so lame, my guy. And by the way, if I'm one of the women on the team or on the staff, how does that sit right with you? How does that behavior of a man who in that moment looked weak and what he put on display not enrage you and make you feel uncomfortable? All of the dynamics of those optics were just jarring and repulsive. And you follow it up with this non-emotion apology where there's really no level of contrition. Because I don't think in his mind he feels like he did anything wrong, which is like the biggest congratulations, you played yourself. That's the worst part of this. I think that you omitted her name. And it was like a calculated decision on your part because you did not want to come across as if you were sorry for what you did to her. She was not worth you mentioning her name. There are so many different ways this could have gone. You had so many options of how you could have addressed this in the aftermath. And by the way, I'm not faulting you for being a sore loser on the surface because we've all got that in us. We all hate losing. I don't want my coaches to love winning. I don't want my players to love, or I don't want my coaches to love losing. I don't want my players to love losing. But there is a certain etiquette. There is a certain way you have to carry yourself, you purport yourself when you are the face of this esteemed program. What you did on Friday night was an absolute joke. But even worse was that phony apology that you could have just kept that, my G. And I love Dawn Staley. She's like, yo, man, I'm not addressing that. I'm focused on us trying to win a national championship. Because what he did get right in this apology was the story of the game should have been about South Carolina. And you robbed them of that because you wanted to be the main character. And that, to me, is disgraceful. It was an embarrassment. In this apology, you could have kept that to yourself. Nobody needed that. We're good. We're all set. She's closing the gap on the distance between whoever the best head coach is and the second best head coach. And for some reason that offends you, you got caught up in your feelings. And now you see that as someone who at some point dominated this sport with not a lot of competition, now you've got a legitimate rival. And they are coming for you. What a weak apology. You could have kept that in the draft. And the fact that y'all put this out is crazy to me. Now, listen, I don't know how maybe the apology came because they don't want it to impact recruiting and they've got to save face. It's a little bit of a PR job here, but it was terrible. Absolutely terrible, and it infuriated me and many others.